Real stories and origin behind top 5 Disney movies. Welcome back to Foeko. Today we'll be counting down our list of real stories and origin behind top 5 Disney movies. When it comes to many of Disney's classic films, however, the polished happy endings are often a long way off from the original fairy tales that inspired them. Torture, hanging, burning feet, these are just a few of the things Disney cuts out when rewriting century-old fairy tales for the screen. Here's the list of real stories and origin behind top 5 Disney movies. But before starting the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel to never miss out on any of our videos. Number 5. Pinocchio. When people visualize Pinocchio, they see this sweet young puppet with a desire to be a real boy. The Disney movie tells the tale of his adventures with his friend and advisor, Jiminy Cricket, and how they ultimately led him to his dream of becoming a human. The original creator of Pinocchio, Carlo Collodi, was hoping for a different image. Collodi created the character for a serial story in Italian newspapers with the goal of showing kids the consequences of being bad. Collodi's Pinocchio was cruel and mischievous. His Jiminy Cricket was only referred to as Talking Cricket, and when the cricket tried to give Pinocchio some good advice, the puppet boy killed him with a mallet. Pinocchio is constantly tortured in different ways throughout the story, all punishment for bad behavior. Collodi initially ended the tale with Pinocchio's death by hanging, but because of an outcry from fans, Collodi was forced to continue. So he decided Pinocchio's life would be spared in exchange for even more gruesome punishments from that point forward. Number 4. Hercules. The story of Hercules, or Heracles, is probably one of the best-known legends that Disney has chosen to bring to the big screen. It comes from Greek and Roman mythology, and the man in question has quite a challenging life. The Disney story keeps some elements of his fabled early years. He was the son of Zeus, but in the original legend, his mother is Zeus's mistress, Alcmene. Hera, Zeus's wife, was so enraged with jealousy at the thought of Zeus having a child with another woman that she sends 2 snakes to kill Hercules in his crib. The plan ultimately fails as Hercules turns out to be super strong and offs the snakes before they have the chance to off him. This also happens in the Disney movie, although it's Zeus's brother Hades, Lord of the Underworld, that puts the hit on Hercules. Going back to the legend, Hera isn't quite done making Hercules' life miserable, so she casts a spell on him that caused him to kill his entire family. Not exactly PG this part, so you can see why it didn't make the cut on the screen. To absolve his guilt, Hercules performs 12 almost impossible labors, feats so difficult they seemed impossible. There's actually physical evidence of one of them. Have you ever been to Gibraltar? If you have, then you've visited the site of one of the pillars of Hercules that he installed to mark the completion of one of the 12 tasks. The other pillar is thought to be either Jebel Musa in Morocco or Mount Hacho, which is held by Spain. Hercules was, according to legend, married a total of 4 times. His first marriage occurred early in his life and set the stage for his most famous adventures. After helping to defend the city of Thebes from invasion, Hercules was rewarded with a bride. Number 3. Cinderella. Cinderella is another timeless fairy tale, and in 1950 it was given the Disney treatment, being turned into an animated classic. The story describes the life of a downtrodden young maiden who is enslaved by her wicked stepmother and ultimately freed by her Prince Charming after he tries her misplaced glass slipper on every single woman in the kingdom. Apparently, he didn't have much of a memory for faces. The story was first thought to have emerged in the 17th century, but it may have been inspired by a much older story chronicling the tale of a woman from China living around 206 BC. Yi Xian, the daughter of a chief, lived a prosperous life until the untimely death of her father left her in the care of her neglectful and malicious stepmother. She even had a stepsister, Jun Li, who's not only ugly but stupid and unkind to boot. She was forced to serve her mother and stepsister, who were so jealous of her beauty and intellect that they wanted to humiliate her. Yi Xian friends a magical fish, and after her stepmother kills it, she buries the bones so she can harness their magical powers. When her stepmother and sister leave her alone while they attend a fancy ball, she wishes for a beautiful silk dress and golden slippers. She's heralded as the most beautiful woman at the party, and when she flees to avoid being spotted by her stepmother, she loses one of the golden slippers, just like Cinderella and her glass slipper. The golden shoe ends up in the hands of the king, who becomes obsessed with finding its owner, as it is so tiny that at a time where foot binding was seen as highly desirable, he surmises the woman who it belongs to must be a great beauty. Yi Xian manages to get to the court and prove the shoe fits her, and the king falls in love, of course, and they live happily ever after, The similarities between the stories are so striking that it seems impossible Cinderella wasn't at least partly inspired by the much older Chinese fable, which was now found new life thanks to the Disney retelling. Disney may use creative license to edit out things like chopping off toes and slicing heels to try and get the slipper on, but Cinderella is evidence this tactic has been used by many writers over the years. As if the European tale was inspired by Yi Zhan, her foot binding was tactfully removed in the European retelling. Number 2. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Let's start at the very beginning. Snow White was the first animated feature film Disney ever made, and the raven-haired princess has had a place in countless people's hearts ever since. The inspiration for the film comes from a story published in Grimm's Fairy Tales, a collection of some of the best-known fairy tales in the world, put together by the German brothers Jacob and Wilhelm in 1812. Like a lot of the tales the brothers penned, it's thought the story of Snow White has been around since the Middle Ages, but only passed down through word of mouth. The film has actually stayed faithful to the tale. An evil stepmother tries to have Snow White killed for being prettier than her, but instead the princess ends up living with 7 dwarfs. Her stepmother discovers her and, disguised as an old lady, feeds her a poison apple which seems to kill her. Enter stage left the handsome prince, who comes to Snow White's rescue and revives her. One of the only embellishments Disney adds is the quirky and individual personalities of the dwarfs. There's no reference to any of them being dopey or grumpy in the book. Number 1. Pocahontas. Perhaps the Disney film best known for being based on real history is the 1995 movie Pocahontas, a musical romance focusing on the relationship between Powhatan Princess Pocahontas and English settler John Smith. The movie touches on the tensions between the Native Americans and the English who were confronting them and trying to take their land, but ends up with Pocahontas saving Smith's life, facilitating a truce between the two groups. The reality is rather different. Firstly, Pocahontas, which means little brat or the naughty one, was only a nickname, and her real name was Matoaka. She's portrayed as being a young adult in the movie, but when she met the 28-year-old John Smith, she was only 10 years old. She really did save Smith's life, and she really was the daughter of Chief Powhatan, but the movie does not show the fact that she was eventually kidnapped and held hostage by the colonists, converted to Christianity, married to a man literally twice her age, renamed Rebecca, and paraded around England as an example of a civilized savage. She eventually died in England of unknown causes at the ripe old age of 20, and it's not only Pocahontas who's given the Disney treatment in the movie. The real-life John Smith was described by his contemporaries as an unattractive and thoroughly unlikable man. The sanitization of the truth is typical of Disney retellings and proof that it is worth seeing what the true stories are, as they can be even more interesting. Thank you for watching. If you liked our video, then hit the subscribe button to never miss out on any of our videos. See you next time.